G'day guys, how's it going? Just a shout out to Sim. Yesterday in the Q&A session, she was asking about potentially taking trades settled in Bitcoin or in USD, depending on what you think Bitcoin's going to do. This is something that I do because I do trade high time frames. If you're trading, 5s and 15-minute time frames, it's really not going to make much of a difference. It's not something I'd probably worry about. If you're trading 4 hours and dailies, it can make a huge difference. So I've just brought up a little demonstration, a little infographic as she was asking for, and I'll run you guys through it and hopefully it'll help settle some questions. So right now you should be looking at a screen, right, with two different trades, both from $10,000, both 2 to 1, both the same. What we're going to do is we're going to go through 4 examples, right, because we've got the long and the short trade. We're going to go through the long settled in Bitcoin, the long settled in USD, and then the short settled in Bitcoin, the short settled in USD. So we're taking them all with a 0.1 Bitcoin position size, which at entry is going to be worth $1,000. So there's no trickery going on there. So we'll run through it. So, oh, my computer's frozen. Hopefully that comes good soon. Beautiful. So 0.01 BTC, we make 20% profit, right? Because that's what the target was. The target was $12,000. Which gives us a 0.02 BTC profit, right? Beautiful, so that's easy, that's all good. Now with the settled in USD, $1,000 position size, we make 20% profit, which gives us $200 profit. So far so good, we've made 20% on each, it looks exactly the same. The trick comes when you actually consider what that is worth in USD or in BTC. So that 0.02 BTC profit that we made at entry, 0.02 BTC times $10,000 was worth $200. Whoops, it'd be nice if it was worth $2,000. It was worth $200. But at the exit, price is pushed up to $12,000. So that 0.02 BTC times $12,000 actually gives us a USD profit of $240. So while you've made 0.02 BTC profit, that 0.02 BTC profit has actually increased in value as well. So you've sort of compounded your gains, right? Whereas if we look at the same position but settled in USD, so at entry, $200 on $10,000 gives us our 0.02 BTC. So that's all good, that checks out. But at exit, we now have a $200 profit because it was settled in USD, but it's on $12,000, which gives us a profit of 0.0167. So you can see that you've even though you've made that $200 profit, that's now worth less in terms of Bitcoin. Whereas if you've taken the same trade in the BTC settled options, such as BitMEX, you've made that $200 profit, but it's actually $240 because that Bitcoin is now worth more. So you can immediately sell that Bitcoin and you profit more by taking that long in a Bitcoin settled exchange or a Bitcoin settled trade. Now, if we look at the opposite, so we're going short, we look at the settled in Bitcoin option. So same thing, 0.01 position size, 20% profit gives us a 0.02 BTC profit, so that's all good. On the USD front, $1,000 position size, 20% profit is $200 profit. But if we compare that back to the BTC, or if we compare that back to Bitcoin, we have at entry $200 on $10,000, which gives us 0.02 BTC. But at exit, we have $200 on $8,000 because that was our target. $8,000, which actually gives us 0.025 BTC. So you can see that if you were shorting Bitcoin and you trade against the USD, you essentially can accumulate an extra 25% of Bitcoin by shorting against the USD and then immediately converting that USD into Bitcoin. Whereas if we traded that against Bitcoin, like settled in Bitcoin, we would have at entry our 0.02 BTC profit times the $10,000 BTC was worth, gives us $200 profit. But at exit, that same 0.02 BTC times the now $8,000 BTC value is only equal to $160, right? So you can see that by trading against BTC, by trading in a Bitcoin settled trade, when Bitcoin's going down, you're still making money. Like you still made $160, but you potentially would have, if you traded against the USD contract, instead of making 160, you made $200. So you're immediately better off, right? You're further ahead immediately. And then also, if you want to convert that back to Bitcoin, you've just made 25% more Bitcoin than what you had originally. Same with on the long, you can see that by trading against Bitcoin, when Bitcoin's heading up, you made an extra 20% profit because while you gained that 0.02 BTC, that Bitcoin itself was worth more. Whereas on the USD front, you still made that $200, right? That's $200. It can't be anything less, but that's not worth as much now if you wanted to buy it to Bitcoin. So long story short, if I'm looking at taking longs, I take them on a Bitcoin settled exchange like BitMEX. I'm looking at taking shorts. I'm more likely to take them on something like Binance futures where it's settled in USD because by taking the trade in USD, I essentially increase the amount of Bitcoin that I can accumulate as price comes down. Now, a really good example of this is the recent monthly close, right? If we just hide all that. So let's just say that for the month of November, I had exclusively traded in Bitcoin settled contracts because I was long on Bitcoin. And let's say that I made, let's just say I made a Bitcoin. I think I just brought back all my other things. Yeah, I did. Let's just say that I made a Bitcoin, right? Well, in that month, the price of Bitcoin went up 40%. So when it started, we were at about 13,000. So, you know, that one Bitcoin I made was worth 13,000. By the end, we were at 19,000. So I made an extra 40%, an extra, let's just say it was 14 to 20 because the maths is easier. I made an extra $6,000 purely by trading in Bitcoin settled contracts. Now, if I traded in USD settled, I still would have made money. I would have made, let's say 13,000. So that's what Bitcoin was worth at the start. So that's still good. There's nothing wrong with it, but I could have made more by doing it in a BTC settled contract. So I hope that helps clear it up. Why some people do you know, run their trades that way. I certainly do. I've made a mess of that, but I'll get a screenshot from the dip before I'll post in the Discord as well, so you've got your infographic sim. And yeah, I hope that helped, and I hope you'll have a great weekend.